Hello, this is Dallin, Gianna, and Chi-Young, and we'll be talking about System Analysis and Design, Chapter 5. We'll be discussing about DevOps, certain projects that you can implement DevOps with, and how you go about doing that in a business. So, first off is selecting which value stream to start with. You can evaluate your value stream in many ways, such as if it's a green or brownfield service. Determine your system of engagement. If it's a system of engagement or system of record, estimate the risk and reward, and assess the level of resistance that we may get from people within the organization. So here we have greenfield and brownfield. So a greenfield project is a project that is brand new. It starts from the ground up. You have no existing code base or anything to work off of. And a brownfield project is an existing code base, so maybe a project that's been around for a few years or decades, and you want to implement DevOps practices into that project instead of rebuilding it new. So some advantages of Greenfield: you start fresh, so you don't have any kind of code debt. It's a new software project or initiative, so you get to design it and build it from scratch. And there's no constraints of existing systems or infrastructure, so you don't have to worry about outdated software or some of the restraints that you may find in a brownfield project that's been around for many years. Some advantage of the brownfield is that it already has a predetermined direction because it's already an application that has been built. Add improvements to existing technology solutions. You're working with a defined business process and technology solutions because, as I said, it's already been developed and it's been running for years. So you don't have to come up with all these different processes and solutions because a lot of them are already done for you. It allows existing code that's already been written over the years to be reused and added for your new features. Some disadvantage, there's a disadvantage to both. Some for Greenfield, you don't have a predetermined direction because, like I said, it's starting from the ground up. It can be quite time consuming because you don't have any code that you can reuse and you have to analyze and design this from scratch. It can be hard to get everyone involved, and it can be costly because it takes more time, more resources, things of that nature. Disadvantage of brownfield be that it's rigid. It already has its design and foundation laid out for you. You can be limited from its original infrastructure, whether that be outdated code or processes that you use. You might have to work within those limitations. It requires thorough knowledge of the existing system that's already in place, so you know what's doing what and what code is where and what data goes where, things of that nature. And oftentimes you have a significant amount of technical debt because over the years, sloppy code or just code that's not used anymore and services that aren't used anymore, they just haven't been removed and it's just kind of piling up, which amounts to technical debt. Here we have bimodal IT, and here we have system of engagements, which is typically user-facing portions of your system, so like web applications or mobile app. And then you have system of record, and this is things like HR or IT or HCM. And so system of record, because this stuff is typically falls under like compliance regulations, the correctness of the transactions and data are very important because you could have serious issues on your hands as there's laws, for various things to do with HR and all things compliance. You have a slower pace of change because you have to make sure everything is perfect. So it takes a lot of time to comb through everything and make sure that you have all your ducks in line. And as I said, you often have regulatory and compliance requirements. System of engagement, which are customer-facing or employer-facing systems, employee-facing systems. These have a much higher pace of change and rapid feedback loops because there's no compliance requirements. You can experiment a little more with these. You can make a change, get feedback on that. If they like it, you keep it. If not, you can change it. There's no real, holdback on that. And enable them to conduct experimentation, as I said, to discover how to best meet the customer. Okay, so this is how we'll be talking about how we can go about implementing these DevOps practices into an organization. First and foremost, you want to find teams that already believe in the need for DevOps principles and practices. These will be the easiest to get on board, such as the innovators. These people, they see the need, they're willing to take the risk, and they're very easy to get the ball rolling on implementing DevOps. You create successes with these less risk-averse groups to show the more risk-averse groups that it is successful and it can work, and hopefully they will get on board over time. And you want to focus in a few areas of the organization. It's easier to implement in small steps. And once you get successes in these small areas, you can expand that out. You don't want to do the big bang and start DevOps on every system and every team in your organization. So as I said, you must demonstrate early wins and broadcast your successes with the organization. And you do that by breaking up your larger improvement goals into small incremental steps. And I spoke about this as well. So this is the phases you go about. First, you'd find the innovators and early adopters. And then you would build a critical mass and silent majority. So the silent majority would be people that not necessarily have a lot of influence. There would just be team members within the organization. They don't have a lot of influence, but there's a lot of numbers. So if you get the critical mass and silent majority following DevOps principles, it's easier to snowball and build that bandwagon effect. And then you want to identify the holdouts, which are the people that want nothing to do with DevOps. They're scared of change and they really just don't want any part of implementing the practices. You want to identify and figure out how best to get them on board. So yeah, in this presentation, we talked about the types of projects that DevOps can begin with, which is Greenfield and Brownfield. We talked about how to go about implementing DevOps in an organization, and we talked about the two systems, system of record and system of engagement, and their role in this process.